Can I sit on your lap?
Oh, yeah. My TikTok videos went viral. We ended up with like 5.4 million views on it. It was crazy.
That's awesome. Are you considered a paraplegic?
Paraplegics and quadriplegics are caused by spinal injury. So mine's a genetic condition.
You have a brother who has the same
Yep.
disease as you. So what are the odds of that?
It's
you know the
very rare. It's like 1 in 100,000.
Okay.
It's called spinal muscular atrophy.
You got the leather today. Welcome back to the Two Dudes, Three Legs podcast with your host, Zac Dingy.
Tony Capoletti.
Today, we're sitting down with Dana Jones, award-winning entrepreneur, tech innovator, and founder of Accessador.
So I think the way we should start this off, because I'm very curious about it, is let's talk about Accessador. A fun little exercise we like to do to learn as much as we can, as quick as possible, would be for you to give us your elevator pitch.
Elevator pitch. All right, let's do it. So Accessador is a smartphone application and compatible device that allows people to open handicap accessible doors from their phone. So it removes the need to touch the blue button. It removes all the engineering flaws in the current technology and makes it a lot more user-friendly for people with disabilities.
Okay, awesome.
So it's a software that goes into the blue. Explain how it actually works. What does it wire up to and what does it connect to?
Yeah, so it's a two-part system.
Okay.
It's an application that's on your phone, and then there's also hardware that's
Okay.
installed into the existing door system. So we feed right off of the power supply in those buttons. It basically just makes it compatible for a phone to trigger it.
Okay.
And this is all proprietary equipment that you've designed and
Yes.
come up with yourself?
Yep.
Very cool. So essentially the way it works is you come up to a door, you're at Stop and Shop or whatever it is, and usually, I can imagine this myself as, I spent some time in a wheelchair,
Yep.
and it's such a pain. You wheel yourself up, and then you got to hit the button, and then you get back in the right position and to come through the door, and it's like, okay, that's pretty hacky.
Yeah, it's not real smooth.
So the way you solve it is I come straight up to the door. I take my phone. Boom. It's all touch, or is there like a voice?
So we feed off of built-in accessibility features. So with smartphones, the beauty of it is you can use voice activation. So think of like Siri. You can also use something called eye gaze. So let's say you aren't able to use your voice. You are able to use your phone with your eyes.
Wow.
So as long as you have eye movement, you should be able to open the door.
Is there anyone who is in a wheelchair or disabled who can't use the device?
We haven't found one yet.
What?
So basically you can do anything.
Yeah.
Voice, if you could touch it, if you can look at it. That's crazy that you can look at
I
it.
love that. I
Yeah.
want to get
Fucking
it
make
just
it
so I
click.
could walk up and
That's
be like,
crazy.
yo, Siri, get the dough.
Yeah, open the door, sir. Open the door. There you go.
Well, like, why did you feel the need to create this specific product? Because a lot of people don't think about it, obviously. But
Right.
And then you think, oh, well, they just click on that button, no big deal. But it's probably a lot of people can't click on that button if you're in a wheelchair,
Exactly. So it came about on personal experience.
Okay.
I was a freshman in college, and when you're in college, it's your first experience being off on your own,
Yeah.
right? A lot of independence, not relying on other people. And one thing that always got in my way during the day was opening doors. So one day I ended up getting trapped in a building because nobody was around. It was kind of like a weird time of day. So I ended up using my phone to call a friend to come over to help open the door. And that was kind of my aha moment or my light bulb moment of why am I using my phone to get help when I could use it to help myself. So that was kind of the spark behind it. And from there, we built a team. So right now it's a team of 4.
Okay.
It's myself, Jacob, who's our head hardware and software engineer, and we have 2 sales members on the team. So it's been, running ever since.
Yeah.
Oh, I want you to go into details about, from spark to first use.
Yeah. So it took a while to get up and going. So we initially first started with, betas, different prototypes, kind of getting it streamlined into what would be feasible for actual end use. So we went through that. It took about, I want to say probably 2 years to get to the point where we had an actual functioning unit. So from there, we ended up doing some testing. We've competed in different business plan competitions. This whole company is actually funded off of prize money from competitions, so we don't have investors or anything like that. We bootstrapped this whole thing. Figure a tech company, you want to think maybe $100,000, somewhere around there to get it up and going. We've done this whole thing for under $30,000.
Wow.
So a lot of sweat equity went into this, but it works, and we've gotten to this point so far.
So what's your strategy then? Because this is a business where everything is already in place, so to speak. Like if you go to any colleges or big campuses, things of that nature, hospitals, whatever, they have the blue button. So is your job or is your strategy just to get in as many of those as you can, and you kind of have like a headhunter style of going to them straight up and just talking to them?
Yeah, so we've done a lot of, door-to-door sales, if you want to call it that.
Love it.
Ultimately, our end goal is to partner with the producers of those buttons so that we don't have to do this as a part B. So they would be, installed during production, and then when the units are purchased, it would already have it. Right. So it would already have it installed. Not like it's a big deal. It takes 5 minutes to install our unit, so it's not that much work to do it after the fact, but it definitely would save us a lot of legwork on that piece.
So then you're looking end game for this would be a nice exit.
Yeah.
Yeah, to sell it.
Yeah. Sell it.
Genius.
Yeah, royalties. We could do royalty deal on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are your numbers right now? Like how many places are you in? How much sales have you done? Stuff like that.
Yeah, so we're in 4 locations.
Okay.
At this time, we're in 150 doors.
Okay.
We're wrapping up beta testing.
Okay.
So when COVID hit, it kind of delayed our data gathering because nobody was at college. Everybody was either trapped in their dorms or at home. So we weren't getting the user feedback like we needed. So we're wrapping that up. We're hoping by January 1st, we'll be ready to hit the ground running for the new year. And anybody can purchase it at that point.
So interesting. Like how old is the blue button thing? Do you know when it was created?
It's over 50 years old, and it has not kept up
and it's
with
so
the technology. No.
If you think about it, it's so utilitarian. How, I don't know. I'm trying to think of people that we know in a wheelchair. Even JJ, who we interviewed, he can function and move his arms, but to move all the way up like that, to get all the way up over there is not easy.
Yeah, he wasn't able to do that
what I mean?
at first.
Yeah,
he
might be able to now, but
it seems like the smaller populations of people that experience these things, it's always that technology that comes in last.
Exactly.
And I think about that stuff too, because this prosthesis I have, there's nothing complicated about it.
No.
There's not a lot of research that went into this thing, I feel, over the years compared to other technology. The fastest car in the world, 20 years ago, took 6 seconds to go 0 to 60. Now they do it in 1 second.
Yeah.
Where this hasn't changed a whole lot.
No, so the disability market and the assistive technology is such an underserved market, and I don't understand why. Because there's millions of people that have disabilities, whether it's vision or physical.
I think I blame it on population though, because there's millions of them, but there's billions of others.
Exactly.
And I think that's what it is.
Yep.
Okay. So, well, first off, aren't you popping on TikTok? What do you have, 5.5 million?
We don't talk about that video. We don't talk about that. Yeah, one of my TikTok videos went viral. We ended up with 5.4 million views on it. It was crazy.
That's awesome. So
that's awesome.
Aren't you on social media a lot? You're on TikTok, Instagram a lot,
Yeah,
right?
TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, even though that's old school. Yeah, I do love everything.
You're on there and you make you kind of are 2-part. You're expressing the brand, but you're also talking about what's going on with you and how to do that and how your struggles in day to day. So you joke about it a lot. Do you feel the need? Is that necessary? Is it a good thing?
Yeah, I mean, I'm all about dark humor.
Yeah.
I think.
Love it.
That's like the way I survive.
Yeah.
Honestly, like you have to make fun of it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you can't just like mope around or go day to day and like let everybody put their thoughts onto you or whatnot. But it's also, I feel like there's stigmas around disabilities, and people might not know how to approach it or how to talk about it, where they're afraid to offend you or who knows what. So by joking, it breaks the ice and it lets people ask the questions that they want to ask. And I mean, for myself, I'm happy to answer any questions that anybody has, as long as they're asked respectfully, which is always the question mark on that one, of whether it is or not. But it's something that needs to be talked about.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of which, you had, I forget who the story was with, but someone who said something about handicapped. What is that story about?
So I don't know if I can actually say who it was.
Okay.
But there was a conversation that I had with someone in New York City.
Okay.
He was in one of the, office positions. And apparently in New York City, you're not allowed to use the word handicapped. It's differently abled, which completely caught me off guard because I thought handicap was pretty standard. I don't see the issue with it.
They literally call it handicap parking.
Yeah, exactly.
It says
it's
on
a
the sign.
government-regulated word.
Who are these people that are getting offended for us and then changing our language because they think that we would be offended? Like, how is handicap?
How's that a bad word?
What?
Like, I don't know. So we had this whole discussion. I was like, oh, I didn't know that New York City uses different words. Like, I'm from upstate. We don't talk like that. Like, it's a whole different language barrier up there. So it was an experience to be schooled in my own language.
Yeah.
That was like a whole thing.
What?
So what word did he tell you to use? Not handicapped.
Differently abled.
Differently abled.
Yeah, I feel like that's more words than necessary, but
All they do is add syllables.
That sounds worse.
All they're doing is adding syllables.
yeah, it sounds like, but that also doesn't like specify. Like everybody's differently abled. Like nobody's the same.
Yeah, what?
So like that doesn't really describe a segment of population.
That doesn't mean anything, really. Differently
No.
abled. I'm
means
differently able
nothing.
than you and you.
Yeah, that's crazy. I didn't know that, so that's insane.
It's such a weird thing. I don't get why people are so sensitive nowadays.
I
Like,
know.
I feel like they're making it worse. Like, come on.
It's not that hard.
Whoever you are, you learn here.
I thought you were pointing at Sean to say something. Thought someone was messed up. Go ahead.
Stop being so sensitive. That's my message. That's it. I'm not gonna.
Everyone stares at you. Like,
I love it. I think it's great.
Well,
I wish people weren't so awkward and they would just say something.
Say something.
Like, I don't care.
It's not hard.
I feel the same way. Like if I saw someone with the leg I have, like I'm going to talk to you about it. I think it's so cool and interesting, and like your story is so interesting. What are we doing? We're sitting here talking about it.
Yeah.
Like, why does everybody have to be so sensitive to stuff? Like it's not that big a deal.
I think it's more the world we live in today. Like they make a different word because they say handicap offends people, but that's just a terminology that you have to explain. Like if I explain to someone and I say, hey, that's a Spanish person, they're like, bro, don't call him Spanish.
Bro.
Like, how the fuck am I supposed to? It's the guy with 2 eyes and a mouth. Like, what? Like, what am I supposed to explain him as? All right, so lifestyle. So obviously the door was a big thing, and you had to get that. You're solving that problem for a lot of people. What are some of the other things that are big struggles for you that aren't for just an average person?
Yeah, I mean, I need help in pretty much every aspect of my life in one way or another. So, getting ready in the morning, making sure I can reach things. In school, it was getting stuff out of my backpack or, opening doors, which hopefully that's not a problem soon. Every little thing. There's different levels of need, and that varies, per person. But for me, like lifestyle, I try not to let it get in my way. Yeah. I like to do things that everybody else my age does. Yep. I go out to bars, which blows people's minds. I don't understand that. I drink. I go out with friends to go see movies or, whatever. Like, we do normal people things. Yeah. It's not, we're not shut-ins. Like, we don't stay home and hide because we're afraid of what people might say about us. Like, that's not how I live my life at all. So, there's different adjustments. And, I was saying the other day to someone that I feel like being disabled has led to my entrepreneurship and my love for it. Having to be creative, having to problem solve on a whim, thinking one thing when you get somewhere and then seeing that it's not set up the way that you thought it would be and having to figure out how to make it work. That's entrepreneurship. That's, figuring it out on the go, or problem solving, or coming up with ideas. I mean, I think they're very closely tied to one another.
For sure.
100%.
For sure. And I like how those two things coincide so well.
Yeah.
We were talking about that on the phone the other day.
Yep.
Just like, it's like you were forced to be an entrepreneur from birth, and you tackle everything from a different angle, but it's an angle that a lot of other people come in at as well. And so for you to be able to solve their problems and needs for them, you can capitalize on that.
Absolutely.
So many people, well, probably nobody watching this does, but you have a brother who has the same thing, the same disease as you. So what are the odds of that?
It's very rare. It's like 1 in 100,000.
Okay.
So it is a genetic condition.
Yep.
It's called spinal muscular atrophy. There's a bunch of different types. We have type 2, the both of us. So the odds of having a sibling set with both presenting with it is very
Are you younger
rare.
or older?
I'm older.
Okay, you're older than him.
Yeah, I'm older.
So that it's so unique, I feel like, to have two people, and only two, that both have the same disease. So what different struggles does that come with having both you and your brother like that?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people, especially people that know us, do direct comparisons, right? And, we are out in public all the time, and everybody's like, oh, are you guys twins? Or, are you guys, whatever. And we're not twins. We're almost 2 years apart. And, making assumptions like that just because we're both in a wheelchair don't work. Like, I mean, my brother, like, he's a redhead. Am I a redhead? No. I wish I was, but I'm not. So just like, making assumptions like that just don't fly. So that, and then also like the family and, making adjustments for both schedules, making sure we both are where we need to go at the same time. There's adjustments, but it's time management and, making sure that we get everything done in a day that we need to.
Yeah.
Again,
funny.
That's business right there.
Yeah, staying up till
you
midnight.
You were literally born for business.
So we talked about a lot. We went through your lifestyle. We've talked about the business. Let's talk a little bit about your spinal muscular atrophy. So when were you diagnosed with it? How old were you when you knew you had it?
Yeah, so I was about 18 months old when I got the official diagnosis. The process started a few months prior to that, probably right around a year. I was missing certain mile markers that children hit. So whether it's, pulling to stand up or crawling or, just having the toned pieces that babies do, I was lacking all of that. So that was kind of the signal.
But there was no signs at birth. So
no signs at birth.
Got it.
It didn't really start till about a year. So at that point, the doctors were like, you need to go see a neurologist. You need to go get tested for different, possibilities. And that's when it came back with the positive for SMA.
So I know kind of what it entails, but for people who don't, what specifically does it mean?
So without getting all scientific, it basically just weakens your muscles. So atrophy, right? It's weak muscles. Or weakening muscles. So it is a progressive neuromuscular condition. There are treatments out now for it. I actually just started one about 1.5 to 2 years ago. So it's, supposedly meant to stop the progression. So
interesting.
I've definitely seen that. I've seen some improvements, which is always, a bonus. So it's been helpful. But it's definitely an area that still needs more work as far as research and, potential cures.
Got it. So what this is doing is more just slowing it down or stopping it.
Right.
It's not necessarily changing anything, make a cure, so to speak.
Right.
Yeah.
It's definitely not a cure. There's supposed to be potentially some other drugs that might be coming out over the next couple of years that would be a combination therapy. So by combining them, hopefully it would alleviate most of the symptoms and get me back to, what an average person might be for someone my age.
Got it. So do you and your brother, is it both kind of like the same pace of what's going on, or are you guys completely different? Does it work different?
So with any disease, it's going to vary per person.
Yeah.
You're never going to get the same thing. So I would say that we're both pretty stable at this point as far as, any severe deterioration, or, any major complications or anything. When we were children, there were a lot more complications just because we were trying to figure out what worked. So once we got that down, we were good.
Yeah.
And we've kind of leveled out over the last couple years.
Yeah. Well, I think what you've done so far is amazing because, like you said, most people who get in a wheelchair, it's like business. You gotta figure it out, and you've done a damn good job at figuring it out so far.
Yeah.
So all right, now that people know about what your disease is, let's talk more about Accessador. So your job, like, what is your strat? Because this this podcast is all about business and entrepreneurship. So I want to talk more about that side. What are you trying to get into first? Is colleges? Because you graduated from Marist 2 years ago, but you're back there. That's kind of your beta testing. So is that going to be your plan? Colleges first?
Yeah. So there's 3 main market segments.
Okay.
There's colleges, hospitals, and then government municipality buildings.
Okay.
So those are really the 3 targets that we've seen a lot of the buttons on, right? So if you think of a college campus, they average around 20 buildings per campus. Each building has to have at least one accessible entrance. So 20 units. There's one outreach for that. We sell 20 units. So most often than not, there's more. But that's just like averaging. Same with hospitals. It's a hospital. Like, you need to be accessible. And then also for government buildings.
What about like high schools? Do you have it for? You could do it for a high school too.
Theoretically, you could. We haven't seen many high schools with the buttons established just because of security reasons and everything. So that's one barrier. So our device doesn't overpower any security measures. So if you were to hit the blue button, if the door opens, then our device will open it.
Yeah.
Right.
But if it's locked, or you need a key card, or you need a key fob or something, you still will need to do that in order to use our app. So we don't override anything.
Have you spoken to Arlington?
Yeah, I know, right? They don't have a button.
No, they don't.
Surprisingly, no, they don't. They need to get on that.
Huh.
Shame on you,
I
Arlington.
know. Get on it, Arlington.
Get on it. They should. Jeez.
Did you go to Arlington?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's say I did work at Arlington and I'm in charge of that, and I want to come and make Accessador the way people get into our building. How would we go about doing that with you?
Yeah, so you can do at the moment, we are taking pre-orders. So you can pre-order online, and then as soon as we're up and rolling, at the beginning of next year, you can, get your order in. We also do have sales team members that can help you navigate the process if it's maybe a little bit more complicated for your establishment. So whether it's battery operated or powered through hardwiring, it does make a difference for our device. So if it's not straightforward, we can help you navigate it. But you can do it online on our website, or you can, reach out.
Now, your device has to be currently has to be paired with a blue button device, though, correct?
Yes. So the way that the blue button system works, it's actually a glorified garage door opener.
Yeah. It's just a button.
Yeah,
that
it's just a button.
Goes to an actuator.
Yep. So we feed off of the actuator above the door. That's what physically opens the door. So our device just allows you to activate the actuator from your phone.
Without having to click the button.
Right.
So could you do it without the button?
Theoretically, yes, as long as the communication
Got
is still there.
Got it.
Yep.
And the actuator.
Yes.
Well, you would
Yep.
you would probably sell it to someone as the whole. You would build the actuator and do it all yourself.
Right. it would
Have you
be
guys
all
considered
in one.
doing that yet?
It's not cost effective to do it on our end. That way, just because most people have the blue button already, so
Right.
to do a whole new unit, it's not really that
Yeah, your
feasible.
market is really better off just being where
Yeah.
there is a blue door or a
Exactly.
blue button rather.
Yeah,
All right, forgive me for my stupidity, but
I forgive him all the time.
There you
I
go.
do too.
The blue button, is that like, does someone come and install that, or is that like a company who does those, or is it just the college or just the place who
Oh,
installs
I'm sure
it?
there's business that comes
It's-
in and
it's-
says,
So
hey, we
it
need
depends. Most colleges have facilities, right? So they might have an electrician
Yeah.
on staff that can do the installation, or they might have an IT guy that can do the installation.
Yeah.
So it really just depends on the hierarchy
Got
of
it.
the establishment itself. You can also bring in people. I don't believe that the producers of those buttons offer installation. I believe they just ship it
Got
and
it.
then they install. But there's a bunch of different ways that you can go about it.
So there's a lot of different avenues you could take that business of where and how to install it.
in 2030, she's going to have it on car doors.
Elevators are next.
All right, hold up
There
now.
you
Hold
go.
up. You got, let me see something here. Hold up. Let me find it. Here you go. So you have won some serious awards
Yeah.
that you got New York Business Plan competition. You were first, right?
Yep. First for regionals.
First for regional, second place at state.
Yep.
And then you competed against MBA students and won first place at regionals. Okay, sorry, I read that backwards. But you won first place at regionals for a New York Business Plan competition. What did that like entail? What was the competition?
Yeah, so that was back when I was at Dutchess Community College,
Yeah.
which I know that we had classes together.
Yeah, we did.
I believe it was Winship, right?
I made it one
Winship?
semester. I couldn't even tell you what I did in college.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, so when I was at Dutchess, I competed in the New York State Business Plan competition. So basically it was just a pitch, 10 minutes long, which feels like an eternity when you're up there and you're not used to it. But now it's a breeze. And we had to get used to it. So we put together our pitch. We did a bunch of practice runs. And then the day came for the actual competition. So we went through, we competed against, I believe there were 20 other companies in our category. So it was IT software. We beat them all out. So
Let's go.
we ended up in first. And then we went up to Albany, where they did states, and we won second for our category.
And so that was that the one where you won 10 grand? It was the largest.
So that was a different one.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot to keep track of.
I know. I'm trying to read it off here, and I got this
There's
here
a
to
lot
try
to
and
keep
help.
track of, Zach.
Yeah.
So that one was actually during COVID. So it was a virtual competition. It was sponsored by Aussie Hair Care through P&G,
Okay.
Procter & Gamble.
Yep.
So we competed in that competition. There were a couple hundred submissions for that. We were selected as one of the 20 to move on to the mentorship
Got it.
piece of it, and then we competed against each other, and we placed. So we won $10,000
That's
in
awesome.
that competition.
That's awesome. So that's all that money is how you've been literally funding this whole thing, right?
Yep, exactly.
Do you plan on getting private money or going public or anything
I
like that?
really don't want to
Yeah.
because I don't do well with people telling me what to do in my
Me too.
company. I just don't have patience for it. Over the years, especially in the beginning, a lot of people at the competitions or just through networking have tried to dictate how to run my company, and I don't want any part of that. So I've learned, over the years, as you get more seasoned as an entrepreneur, how to stand your own and, kind of tell them to fuck off.
Let's go.
Being a female, being disabled, being 18, when I started the company, we had a bunch of different factors working against us, and, kind of navigating that process and getting 50-year-olds to respect us was a challenge, but
But not a challenge for you. Just comes natural to you.
Yeah, it comes naturally. I'm really good at telling people to fuck off, so we're good.
Did you have a lot of people try to invest? Do you still?
We did. So right after I got off the stage on the first, regional competition, we had 4 people approach us. I wasn't even off the stage yet, and they were like trying to throw money at us, and I didn't really know how to react.
That's a good sign, though.
I mean, it's a great sign. It shows that we're onto something. But I also was 2 months into it, so I didn't know where we were going at that point. So why am I going to bring in an investor when I don't even know what we need? Like, it was too early. So a couple of them have stayed, in touch over the last couple of years with production, and one of them, always jokes around every time I see him, hey, are you ready for investors yet? And I'm like, no, we're not. No, not gonna happen.
No, fuck off.
Yeah, fuck off. Yeah, exactly. So
I love that.
It's been a journey.
Yeah.
It's been fun.
I love it. I love that you can do it without having investors, because that's what most startups are, is you just got to give away equity, and it's so cash heavy, where this isn't. So what does it actually cost for the hardware to install?
So for production, it's right around $22.
Okay.
So we're 5 to 1 profit margin. We sell the units for about 100.
Okay.
So we like a 5 to 1 profit margin.
That's good.
On that.
It's good. Damn. And you're not paying for the install. You're just selling it, or that?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. We don't want to get into that.
I imagine install is very, very simple, right?
5 minutes.
Right.
5 minutes, I can do it, and I have no tech experience at all. So it's super simple.
Got it. Okay. Tony, you got any questions? You want me to
where exactly are you at with the business right now? So you have the product figured out. You're ready to just roll it out and start with sales now.
Yeah, as soon as we get through this beta test, we're ready to go. Okay. We have manufacturers lined up. Everything is New York produced, so it's all local. That was one really big piece of it for me, is we wanted to keep it local. So no offshoring. It's Rochester, New York. So it's 6 hours from here.
Yeah.
Not far at all. Okay. So everything's super convenient, super local.
And now, do you have your foot in the door anywhere where, when this is ready to sell, you got a couple contacts that are ready for purchase?
Yeah. So we actually have a contact down in Disney. So they're going to be one of our first purchasers. So we were in touch with them, towards the beginning of all this, and they've kind of followed us throughout this whole thing. So hopefully we'll have Mickey Mouse ears on our
let's go.
That's impressive. That's amazing.
Well, they've been really pushing accessibility down there.
Yeah.
So it kind of fits in with what they're doing.
That's impressive. So you have people lined up already. So right now you're in the beta still. You have people lined up, and as soon as it goes live, you're going to start going like crazy?
Yep, we're good.
Okay.
We're good.
All right.
If not, I can just have a lot of trouble with the blue button, and I'll just sit there with your cards and hand them out.
Yeah, you could be our model, Tony.
Yeah,
feature all the videos.
Let's do it.
I mean, that's what it's cold calling. It's knocking on doors. You got to start somewhere.
Exactly.
You got to start somewhere. All right. So growing up, I'm not going to worry.
I'll ask the question.
Go ahead.
Go for it, Tony.
So you told us a lot about your business and life nowadays. But I'm sure getting to this point, there were a lot of different struggles you overcame, as a young adult in this situation. Your experience of life is very, very different than ours. And, I'd like for you to speak a little bit about that, to give us some insight on what it was like growing up with SMA.
Yeah, definitely. As a kid, I was in and out of the hospital all the time. I missed a lot of school, kind of the socialization that comes with being in elementary school. It was different. I don't think I ever had a solid month in school without being in the hospital at some point.
Oh, wow. I didn't know it was like that.
Yeah, so it took a while to get everything kind of situated. Growing up, my parents did a really good job at making me not feel different. Making sure that I did everything everybody else did, not secluding me from, different activities, letting me figure it out on my own. I wasn't spoon-fed, how to do everything. Mm-hmm. So I think that really helped in me learning how to navigate, this different lifestyle. I was a little bit more shy as a kid. Not anymore, obviously. I found, my confidence, but, as a kid, there's different, expectations that you need to go through or what you think you need to do to fit in. And I don't know if I necessarily cared about fitting in, just because I knew I was always different. But having, that background of you can do whatever you want to do, I think really helped with kind of shaping to where I am now.
So you have a very unique perspective on the world, I'm assuming. So what if you had to break it down into one message that you would give, what would it be?
It's a tough question. Probably just not taking no for an answer.
Okay.
Go do what you want to do. I mean, you live one life, right? So you need to go and do what you're meant to do. Not living the life that other people want you to live.
Nope.
I think is what it comes down to.
Okay.
I like that.
I knew you'd have a good answer for that, so that's why it made
It's a
me think
really
of
good
what
question. I wonder where he got it.
I was gonna say, is your question, Tony?
That's my question, bro.
Damn. I took it from you too early.
Damn.
I took it from you too early.
That's the ending question,
you
bro.
could have my figgity flapjack facts for this one.
She dropped a bunch of flapjack facts on him. You dropped the ball on that, buddy. Well, listen, speaking to you has been awesome. Like your message and the way you've gone through things is like, it's so beautiful to see, because I really think that a big struggle that people like yourself and myself even have when you go through something like this, and people like almost expect you to not be able to do things, and that expectation could almost hold you back more than whatever it is that you have that's holding you back in the first place. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And it's like, if somebody told you your whole life, oh, well, you're not going to be able to do this, well, then you might actually believe them.
Yeah.
And that's worse than
I get no
any
greater
ailment.
joy than proving people wrong.
Oh, I love that.
It is my pride and joy. It's what I live for. I love proving people wrong.
Yes.
So
what is she driven by, bro?
Madness.
Driven by madness.
Yeah. So your parents, though, there's a testament to your parents, so they were obviously made sure that you were always involved in anything, never changed anything, to make you feel not like you were a part of it or whatever.
Not
Terrible
normal.
terminology for what I'm trying to say. But that's a testament to your parents, so that's awesome.
Great
Absolutely.
parenting for them to
Absolutely.
give you that confidence. And you've certainly proven yourself on the battlefield. I know a lot of 24-year-olds that have nothing going for them.
I know a couple of those.
Yeah.
I know a couple of those.
You only
too.
know a couple?
Yeah.
You've got good friends.
I don't have a lot of friends. It's a problem. I'm very picky with who I spend time with.
It's good.
It should be.
That's the best. Bryce, how long are we at?
We're 40 minutes in. I got a few questions. And then
Go for it.
Give him a mic if he's going to ask questions.
Well, all right. So, okay. Dana, how strong are your hands? Like, what kind of things can you do with your hands?
Yeah, so with spinal muscular atrophy, there's a limitation on dexterity and strength, right? So I'm able to move my fingers. I can grip, not strong, but I can grip. I can use a phone like normal, so I can hold it, talk on it, whatnot. But there's limitations, right? So being able to reach or, holding odd shapes, like the grip isn't necessarily there.
Like brushing your teeth.
Yep, I can brush my teeth fine.
Okay.
As long as I can reach it, right? So like someone has to give it to me. I can feed myself fine, which isn't always the case for people with SMA. There's different types, different severities. But I can do all that on my own.
Do you like cooking? Do you get involved in cooking at all?
I'm a better baker.
Okay.
I leave the cooking to my parents because one, I'm too lazy to cook, and two, I don't have time. So unless it's like cooked and ready, I'm like not eating because I don't have time.
So other than you guys being busy, what is the dinner table like? Like, I mean, these are things that people don't even think about. Like, you're not sitting in a dinner table chair, right?
Nope. So I stay.
Dinner, yeah.
So I stay in my chair, but my ass isn't glued to the seat.
Right.
So I sleep in a normal bed. I don't know why people think I'm like never out of my chair. Like, I'm not attached to it. I wasn't born with it on me. So I use my chair for, dinner or working or just moving around, obviously. But it's a normal dining table. It's, the same height as any others.
There's plenty around here. We got 50.
I see a couple. We need to empty it out.
So, and please forgive me. I'm just asking these questions because I'm just curious. Like, it seems like your legs are elevated. Your hips, like, as far as like the angle.
Yep. So my chair's tipped back.
Okay.
I have the Ferrari of wheelchairs. Yeah. So I can give you guys a chair tour later. But it has reclining. So I do recline just so that I don't have pressure on my hips or the back of my legs. It's just to change the pressure so I don't get like sores or anything along those lines.
That's interesting. Okay. Right, and I know my grandfather had 2 hip replacements.
Okay.
And he was all about like the certain elevation of his hip alignment, right?
Yep.
On an angle or anything. So I'm sure it's related in some way.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I change positions all day, just because I am sitting for 18 hours a day. So you can't sit still for that long.
That was like a learning curve, like for your family, right? I mean, you and your brother being years apart, but essentially you guys were figuring this thing out as a family since your birth, basically.
You figure it out as you go.
Yeah.
You figure it out as you go. So, you come up with what works for you, and then you stick with it, and then if it doesn't work, you change it.
What about clothes? You're wearing a nice dress.
Thanks.
Like, do you guys have to like retrofit your clothes to fit you?
That's a good question. So, we wear normal clothes, not anything special. They do make adaptive clothing though, so that's like a whole new thing. I don't know if you guys watch like New York Fashion Week or anything along those lines, but they actually did 2 whole runway shows of adaptive clothing.
Oh wow!
So whether it's magnets instead of buttons, because people don't have the dexterity to undo the button, or maybe there's a zipper on the back of the jeans so that you don't have to force your foot through it, or Velcro even. Like, there's a bunch of different options out there now where it looks normal, which is my biggest thing. But it's easier. It makes your life easier.
I'm sure, and that's a huge thing that, like I said again, that people without spinal muscular atrophy aren't thinking about on a day-to-day basis, right? So there's when we had JJ on the show, I was really just getting first introduced to like the meaning of like paraplegic, quadriplegic. I don't know. I just didn't really know, right? Mm-hmm. So are you considered a paraplegic?
So paraplegics and quadriplegics are caused by spinal injury. So mine's a genetic condition. I was born with it, where paraplegics, quadriplegics, something traumatic happened, they severed their spinal cord, and then they're paralyzed. So that's not something you're born with, typically. So it is different. Even though we both use power chairs, it's not the same diagnosis as if it were to be that.
Yeah, obviously it's like a completely different conversation than like with JJ, like self-induced, right?
Right.
On his end.
Yep.
Which is still a nightmare.
Yeah.
But do you have feeling in your legs?
Yep. So I feel everything.
Okay.
Contrary to what most people believe. I don't understand that either. But yeah, I can feel everything. I did have a spinal fusion when I was 5. So there's certain parts of my back where I don't have full feeling. It kind of feels like pins and needles a little bit if it's touched the wrong way. But I can feel everything else.
So inherently the nature of your disease being determined as atrophy, right? So that is actually now, as I'm thinking about it, explaining to me the fact that like your legs, right? They're atrophied because they've never been used.
Well,
so
it's not skeletal at all. It's only muscular.
Yeah, it's muscular. So obviously I'm not using my legs. So
Right.
I'm not going to have like 14-inch caps. That's just not going to happen. I wouldn't want that anyway. But it's atrophy, so if you don't use it, you lose it. And with a progressive neuromuscular condition, even if you do use it, you're going to lose it. So
Right.
no matter what you do, unless there's a treatment, you're going to lose it at some point.
Right, so my father had ALS.
Yeah, so it's basically SMA is like the childhood form
Right.
of ALS, because typically you're 40 and up
Yep.
normally when you get
That's when it happened.
diagnosed. So
And
it's
it's
very
it's
similar.
like the same exact thing, but it seems it happened a lot faster.
Yep. Yeah.
So are you able to walk at all, or were you when you were younger?
So no.
Okay.
When I was younger, with support, like whether it's like holding hands
Yeah.
or somebody's holding into my arms or something, I would be able to weight bear. I used to have a stander that I would use for weight bearing, for bone density and stretching and all that stuff. After my spinal fusion, we kind of ended a lot of that just because it was too painful to do, and you have to think of quality of life, right? Like, what's more important, not being in pain or standing for something I'm never going to do?
It was painful to try and stand and walk and stuff.
So, a spinal fusion, your whole back
Oh, spinal.
is
fusion,
cut
yeah.
open.
Yeah.
So, rods are put in, everything. So, to go from not standing for 7-8 months during my recovery to then trying to stand, everything gets tight. I wasn't stretching. It wasn't a priority of mine at that point. So everything got tight. There was overstretching issues. And then also the fact that I wasn't standing at all for that long. The bone density gets weaker. The bottom of your feet gets sensitive. It was pretty painful.
I'm sorry. So this is probably a tough subject to talk about. But when you were younger, when you were born, did they give you a percentage of what you were going to live or something like that?
So it depends on the type, right?
Okay.
So I have type 2.
Okay.
So normally with type 2, without intervention, they normally say you live to like 20, 30, somewhere around there, but there's interventions. So it shouldn't really affect my lifespan at all. With type 1, that's the most severe. Typically, you don't live past 2 for
Wow.
that.
Wow.
So that's a little bit more brutal.
Wow.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're a survivor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, people try to write me off, but hasn't happened yet.
I want to talk about something fun. So I saw something on your TikTok about you on Tinder.
Oh my God.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
I'm
Oh,
calling you
no.
out big time. Let's go.
Oh no.
So what has dating been like in your 20s now?
So honestly, I don't give it much time because I don't have the patience for it. I'm sure you guys are fine, but most guys are really stupid. So, during quarantine, I downloaded all the apps because I wasn't meeting people out in the bars or anything.
Mm-hmm.
And the comments that I would get were ridiculous.
All right, I need 3 of them
Stories.
at a minimum.
3 of, I don't know if they're able to be aired is
Oh,
the problem.
absolutely. If you've seen
Okay.
our other episodes, you kidding me?
All right. So some of them made it on my TikTok. I think my all-time favorite was a guy said that I should ride him instead of my chair. And he got an A for effort, but like, no dick's that powerful, so that's not gonna work.
I hope he's watching.
I really hope
Dick's
he's
not
watching.
powerful.
I really hope he's watching. One guy said that he could fuck me to walking.
Oh my
Which-
God.
If you think about it, isn't that an oxymoron? Because like,
It is.
aren't you supposed to fuck me so I can't walk?
Yes.
There you go.
That means you didn't do a good job. So
Write him off. Keep going.
write him off. I think those are my 2 favorites. One guy asked if my chair vibrated, and I was like, no, I have really good shocks, so it doesn't shake. It's
People are
just-
crazy.
yeah, it's a time. It's a time.
Oh, yeah.
It's a time.
Are you primarily running into people, dating people that are also wheelchair bound?
So that's like a whole like conception. It's like disabled people should only date disabled people, and that's
Right.
not the case.
That's why I asked. Yeah.
Yeah, so I actually haven't talked to anybody that's also disabled unless they're like mentally off, which again, it's Tinder. So very
Everyone.
well the case. So basically everyone I've talked to off there. But yeah, I mean, there's a whole bunch of, misconceptions about that. So I haven't talked to anyone in a wheelchair or, different disabilities or anything. Not like I would have a problem with it if it was something, but it hasn't happened, so.
Are you still on Tinder? Are you still looking?
Oh, fuck no. I deleted that shit.
Yo.
No.
That's great.
That's hilarious.
No.
Tinder is the worst place in the world, I think.
It's not easy to find someone. I mean, to date, actually.
God.
That's not what Tinder's for.
No.
Oh, that's
I have
terrible.
One related question, and it's probably something hard for you to talk about. I don't know. Is motherhood in the cards for you?
Yeah. So a lot of people think that disabled people can't have kids. I can have kids. Some people might not, depending on their abilities or whatnot. It would be higher risk, just because I don't have full lung capacity, or I might not be able to carry to full term. I might be premature. There's actually a girl that I know that's pregnant now, with the same condition that I am.
Wow.
She's doing great. So it definitely is there. Whether I want kids or not is a whole nother conversation.
She's an entrepreneur. She don't have time for diapers,
no,
bro.
I don't.
Crazy.
No, I got a company to run.
No, why
That's
do
her
all-
baby.
Why do all the 23, 25, 26-year-old women of today not want to have kids?
Because we don't
think
want to
they don't.
rely on a man.
Oh.
Is the problem. I mean, back in the day, guys used to be the providers, and I mean, not you guys, but some are lacking in that. So we got to carry it on our own, and it's hard to do that when you have 3 kids running around and
True.
dividing time.
So you don't think that men should be the providers? You think it should be?
I mean, we all kind of know that women are superior. At
Wait a
this
second.
point.
Wait a second. You just said that you don't want to be with a man because they aren't the provider, which would almost
No,
insinuate
no,
that
no.
you mean that they should be the provider.
It should be, but a lot aren't. Is the problem.
Most
So I
today
think
are not.
Are not. They're.
There's a lot of weak men
Yes,
running around nowadays.
Yes. Bring back the alphas. So, so yeah, I mean, it's just a different time. It's a different time.
Yeah, it's true. You do. I would say nowadays you got to be careful because there's just so many men out there that are not even worth
Not
the
it.
title.
Not it. Yeah.
So I get that.
So let me ask you, because this is a topic that is all over social media right now about the men and women, and fucking so many men are just it's beta. You're in a beta testing.
Well,
of
wait a
the
second.
thing.
Let's not
So
let's
many men are
not
beta.
let's not skip over the fact that so many women are not worth a man either.
Okay, I'll give
These
you
disgusting girls online showing
That's
their
that's
their
where I was
bits
gonna
and
go.
pieces.
that. Yeah, OnlyFans.
Where are
OnlyFans. Yeah.
do I have OnlyFans? Hell no. I can't even look at TikTok anymore because there's like
I know.
little girls and it's like, where's your dad at?
That's
Daddy
where I was gonna
issues.
go.
Have you heard of daddy issues, Tony?
Yeah, I see
It's a
them
real
all the time.
thing.
It's called TikTok. App
So,
should be called Daddy
All right,
Issues.
that's where I was gonna go first, but good point. Secondly, is like, I think the true highest thing a person could do is reproduce. That's like what we're on Earth for.
Yep.
So let me just ask you this: do you think you'll be more fulfilled and more happy in your 50s and 60s having you building that business and selling it for $100 million and having that amazing accomplishment, or you think you'd be happier if you didn't do that and had 2-3 kids and grew a family?
I feel like that's a split question because it really depends on what life brings, right? I mean, there needs to be a partner that's worth my time. Right now, there's not. And then also, do I want kids? Probably, I do. But again, it's timing. It's, being with the right people. And, kids are great. But at this point, I also don't mind handing them back to their parents at the end of the day. So I
Right.
don't have to deal with them a solid 2 hours, and I'm like drinking up a storm, ready for them to go home.
So for now, no kids for now.
No,
In the
no.
future, maybe. You're
Maybe.
still
So
undecided.
Accessador
Give me
is
another
her
5 years.
child.
Exactly, it's my
Of course.
baby.
So if you were to have a kid, what are the chances that they're born with SMA as well?
So it's a recessive disease, which means that my partner would also need to be a carrier of it. There's a very slim chance that they would get it just from me. So whoever I marry, whoever I have kids with, we need to get genetic testing done to see if they're also a carrier. If they are, I believe it comes down to like 25% chance that it would pass on where they would be affected, and then a 50% chance that they would be a carrier of it. So then they would need to be mindful of who they have kids
Deal
with.
with as well. Got it. Interesting. It's so interesting to think about.
Learned a lot here today.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I'm sure 99% of the people you run into don't know
No,
shit
they don't
about,
know shit.
about
No.
what you have. It's not very common.
No.
And we're all too scared to ask.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, there's
Everyone's
only
too
like
scared to ask.
30,000 people in the U.S. that have this.
Wow,
It's
that's
a
it.
rare condition.
So that's like 1 in a million, 1 in 10 million.
it's very rare. It's very rare.
Interesting. I think you and your brother are the only 2 people I know with it.
Do you know Mark Andrews? That went to Arlington.
That name sounds so familiar.
It does. I feel like that's
Yeah.
there's a
Yeah.
wrestling name. He was our age?
He was 2 years older than me. So he was, what, 4 years older than you?
And he was in a chair as
So
well.
He was on one. When I was a freshman, he was a senior, so.
Yeah. No. Yeah, Dominic. Yep.
Oh, I know a different Mark Andrews. Okay.
Mark Andrews is a wrestler or something like that. I know that name for football.
Yeah,
player, I don't
he's
know.
definitely not a wrestler because unless he's like running people over.
That's where the name
I
from.
love your
that
sense of
counts.
humor.
1 in 10 million Americans have SMA, and there's 3 that went to Arlington High School.
Yeah.
That's
How big Arlington
unreal.
High School is.
Yeah, that's a testament. to
And
Arlington's
that's a
success.
testament to how bad they need Accessador. What
Yeah.
are you waiting on,
What are you
guys?
waiting on Arlington? Yeah.
Oh my god.
All right. Well, we're very excited to see the development of Accessador and to see your development as an entrepreneur. Because if this is your first idea and you're already going this big with it, I'm excited to see what you come up with next.
It's
so
always next.
definitely keep in touch with us.
Absolutely.
Maybe we'll do a part 2 for Accessicar in
Oh,
2030.
there you go. There you go.
They have that. One of the guys around here has the yellow GTR that he drives with.
Stick.
Yeah, but it's a control, and you press it down for the gas, you press it up for the brake.
It's
And
hand
he-
controls.
Yeah, he's fully. Well, he's paraplegic. He's from the waist down.
I drive.
So I don't know.
I was just going to ask, you drive
Yeah.
too?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Holy
It's
shit!
same as driving a chair.
That's scary. Only because you're a woman.
Listen, I've been driving for 23 years now.
You're a champ for taking that joke.
Yeah,
I
you've
love
been
that.
driving for the longest
Yeah,
compared to anyone.
Out of all my friends, out of you guys, I've been driving the longest. Out of everyone here.
You got a
so
point. You got a
I think I
point.
got it all.
True
And
that.
you drive more than anyone. You're 16, 18 hours a
Yeah.
day. So technically,
Yeah.
she's got more hours than probably
Exactly.
That's facts.
most people.
I got it all over you guys.
All right, cool. Well, thank you again for coming, Dana. It was awesome.
Thanks for having me.
It's good to learn about what you have, and then the entrepreneur journey is just amazing. So
Yeah, and your undefeatable attitude is my favorite by a landslide. It's amazing.
Thank you.
cool.
We love it.
Well, we'll see you next week on Two Dudes, Three Legs.
Peace out. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Can we just for a while piggyback, lay it down?